Welcome to T Lokes, Tucson's local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and in each episode, we embark on a journey to connect with the passionate minds behind the businesses and nonprofits that make our community thrive. Join me as I sit down with the owners, visionaries, and change makers who pour their hearts into shaping the local landscape. We explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique journeys that define Tucson's business community. From the corner coffee shop to the innovative startups and impactful nonprofits, T Lokes is your window into the diverse stories that make our city special. Tune in and get ready to get connected. This is T Lokes. Howdy, folks, and welcome to T Lokes, your Tucson local business podcast. I'm your host, L. Connor McEverly, and here with me in the studio today is the owner and founder of Resourced Counseling. It is my pleasure to introduce to the show Tatiana Thompson. Tatiana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Connor. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive right in. So let's talk about Resourced Counseling. Can you walk us through your journey? How did you start and what set you on this path?
Yeah, it is quite a story, and I'll kind of start at the end and get to the beginning, I think was the best way for me to explain it.
Awesome.
These days I work as a licensed professional counselor. I specialize in helping people get out of toxic relationship patterns and learn what's healthy through things like EMDR and parts work. IFS are some keywords that people might know nowadays. I work with all genders, but my passion really started and still is oftentimes working with helping women learn how to trust themselves. And that starts, as many healers, with myself, my own culmination of getting to really a breaking point in my own life and realizing that something was off and not knowing how to solve it.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I kind of walk you through how I got there?
Please do, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. I am 30 years old. I have a 3-year-old and a newborn.
Okay.
And I am in, frankly, an emotionally abusive marriage where there has been breaches of trust over and over again, but I just can't leave the situation for reasons I don't understand until later when I'm looking back on it. And it's the day after Christmas. We've just hosted, and all of a sudden a disc in my back ruptures out of nowhere, and I'm in excruciating pain for the next 3 months. I can barely walk.
Yeah.
My doctor won't give me an MRI because he thinks it's just a birthing injury. He doesn't realize that there's a real issue there.
Yeah.
I'm bedridden, and then I get strep throat. Then I get the flu.
Oh, man.
And I'm trying to take care of 2 young children all day long while my husband's at work.
Right.
My family's working. They can't help me. So it was just a horrifying period. It is the darkest place I've ever been in my life, the most helpless I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I realize it was my body finally saying enough is enough. You're not leaving, but we're not doing this anymore. So it took me to what a lot of people would call a dark night of the soul. And I started reading a self-help book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. And it was really just this opening to the possibility that there's another way of approaching life.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know the tools that existed before that. So it really opened up a door to me that allowed me to get enough strength to actually find a new doctor, so I could get the medical care I needed, which led to back surgery. I was literally losing function in my leg.
Wow.
And then with that, within 3 months, I actually left my spouse with a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old and no job. So it was a terrifying time.
Yeah.
But pushed through, went through a lot more junk, got fully employed again. You know, I'm a divorced mom with 2 young kids. And then it was just one thing after another. Again, my youngest developed a seizure disorder, which was terrifying to go through.
Yeah.
My condo kept flooding that I was renting, so we had to move out multiple times. And it was just so much. So on top of that, I'm soothing my nerves every evening with wine and ice cream. So that's just adding insult to injury, right? But I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So I do more self-help work and I start really diving into that. I'm going to therapy finally. I'm getting some insights which are helping me. And finally, I decide to go back to school to become a therapist myself, which was a great decision. But still, I've learned a lot of stuff, but I haven't figured it out myself completely just yet. So I go through 4 years of graduate school, all this stuff. And then once I got out of school and I started practice, that's when things changed for me and ultimately for my clients because I learned EMDR. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
No,
it's
not
a
not.
really amazing healing modality. It's subconscious. It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Okay.
And it's goes into and I combine this with like parts work. A lot of people have heard of internal family systems.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
heard of that. Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you kind of can mash these two things together. And here's the idea behind it in some ways. Our brains are a lot like computers. We're a lot like computers. We're like only like 5 to 10% of what we do is conscious. And that's like the interface, the web browsers and the
Yeah.
Word docs, right?
Right.
But 95% is that script that's running in the background that we're not even aware is running. But if there's a glitch in that script, if there's a bug, the interface is going to go wrong, right?
Right.
The way we behave will go wrong.
Totally.
So yeah, so that's what I learned is these modalities that help us debug that script so that people start showing up in their lives differently.
Right.
And that's what I really learned in all of this is once I started getting EMDR myself and doing this work on myself and through my own therapist, all I realized is that everything that we're struggling with in our lives really comes back to there's a blocking belief in the way, a core blocking belief.
Mm.
So EMDR and parts work helps us rescript those core beliefs. So now we start behaving differently. And I would love to kind of go into my story of how
Please.
that then developed and why I ended up in that position.
Yeah, please do.
Awesome. Thank you. So I grew up in a household with a lot of love and a lot of privilege and a lot of great things. But the primary factor in my household is my dad was struggling with alcoholism.
Mm.
And it was his way of covering up his grief and his anger from his own trauma. But it left all of us walking on eggshells from his anger and, frankly, physical abuse at times too.
Yeah.
My mom also felt trapped because of her own programming around, women can't make the money. We're supporting dad's income. I have 3 young children to support. I don't have any options here.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of messaging through all of that, including women can't make their own money, because I saw that not only in my own house, I saw
Right.
that in all of my friends' houses at my generation. All of
Yeah.
the women supported the husband and couldn't make real money.
Right.
P.S. The women who did make real money, my dad or other men in the world around me would call them bitches or just nasty names. And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't want to be one of those ladies, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then another few messages that I got was ultimately I took away from that is like, don't question men, be pleasing, don't be difficult. And I also saw my dad objectifying women a lot. I saw a lot of men objectifying
Yeah.
women. And so I also learned I've got to be beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, and I really learned at the core of all of this, Connor, was men are the key to security because they are the way that you can have access to literal money, not for gold digging purposes, but just for basic
Right.
needs to be met,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so it was a really helpless place to be, but it trained me to be pleasing, be as beautiful as possible. And ultimately, that led me to attract people who wanted to use me for those things. And
Yeah.
I married a man who's very much like my father. And there, that leads to the story of where I ended up there.
Right.
Um, so ultimately, I was able to debug my own brain, my own subconscious,
Yeah.
and script something different. And once I started peeling those onion layers off and getting back to the core of who I authentically am, my career started taking off. I was like, oh, I can make my own money. I am worthy of love, and I don't need somebody to validate that for me. I can be on my own and be very, very happy. And
Yeah.
it was just so, so freeing.
Yeah.
Um, and I like to liken that to like when you believe something false about yourself, you walk into a room and people treat you based on what you believe. If you're confident and you walk in a room, people give you what you want, right? Because you know you deserve it.
Yeah.
But if you walk in the room meek, you're not going to get what you want in that situation. So
Right.
that's how I got here. And now I've done thousands of hours with clients, and I so fully believe in the process and the way that I personally have learned how to kind of interweave these different modalities
Yeah.
that I have complete trust that people will be able to get out of this if they fully engage in the work. Like people will ask me, how can you be a therapist and listen to all these sob stories all day? And I'm like, because I know that they don't have to stay there anymore. I have full faith in their ability to get out of it
Yeah.
and finally have the life that they really want. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that is really a very powerful story that just shows like how rooted what you are doing now and like what you are giving is what you needed. And yeah, I mean, that's just such a great mission where that core
Thanks.
is. And yeah, I guess I might be jumping ahead on our question list a little bit, but
That's okay.
I can't help but wonder because I'm just so curious more about EMDR. So
Yeah.
can you tell me like how you found it, what brought you to specialize in it, and like what is it
Yeah.
kind of like?
Yeah, that's a really cool question. I love it, obviously. And again, I
Yeah.
mix it with other modalities, of course. But I stumbled upon it, frankly. I was starting out as a therapist and I learned about this training and the practice that I still also work for. I work for myself and for another practice.
Nice.
They were willing to pay for it. It's a relatively expensive training. And I was like, okay, learned about it and started experiencing it myself. And I was like, oh, this is something. Um, so it it's an experience where really when we have a normal memory, it during REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, our
Yeah.
brain is supposed to be going through and like cleaning up and making sense of the experiences in our day, integrating it with old information, kind of dumping what doesn't need to be here anymore.
Right.
But when a memory is either traumatic or problematic, like problematic behaviors that you grow up with,
Right.
it's almost like a paint splatter in the brain. And it's another way to look at it is like tripwires everywhere. It's hitting everything in these weird ways. And
Mm.
with EMDR, it's a free association activity where we're kind of following this ball of yarn through your brain in every little corner, wherever it goes. And we're
Yeah.
cleaning it up, we're untangling it, and we're going to be able to tuck it away now in the memory box. And
Right.
I always find, I actually had this happen twice today, when clients go through their first session of EMDR,
Yeah.
when we come back to check in on how they're doing, I ask them to pull up the memory and go, what are you noticing about it now? And they're like, it's like I have some distance from it now. Like it's like before I was like in it,
Yeah.
and now I'm kind of watching it, and it's a simple memory as though I had a turkey sandwich from lunch yesterday. So
Interesting.
it takes the heat out of it.
Yeah.
And then gradually it goes from you have this core belief, say, I don't know, um, I can't, it's not safe to ask for what I want, right?
Right.
Your subconscious starts to rescript that just organically as we're going through the process. And by the time you're done, you're not telling yourself, oh, it's okay for me to ask for what I want. You're going, oh my God, like, say it was your mom who made that hard.
Sure.
My mom it wasn't about me being too difficult. She was so overwhelmed. I'm allowed to ask for what I want. She just couldn't give that to me. Okay, cool. I can ask for what I want in the world. And you feel
Right.
it like here, which changes it. You
Yeah.
know it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I think that does. That's really interesting. So, like, when it comes to the eye movement part, like, are you closing your eyes and like physically, like, kind of like rolling your eyes as they're closed and kind of like,
Great question.
like mimicking like REM?
Very similar. So we are mimicking REM, I
Yeah.
think. That's what we understand it to be.
Right.
We are actually doing it with your eyes open, which helps keep you grounded in reality. So it's not as overwhelming to get lost in the memory.
Right.
So we have a ball on the screen that will run, and you're following the ball while you're thinking about the memory. But then you're
Super
letting your mind
interesting.
wander all over the place to follow again that ball of yarn wherever it's going in your mind.
Right.
And throughout, we pause and I say, what are you noticing now? And you might have a big emotion coming up. You might have memories loading up. You might have a new insight and you just report that. And we go, okay, notice that. Follow the ball again.
Yeah.
Keep pausing and doing that. And that's all the session looks like.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. That's super
Yeah.
interesting. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's very cool. And it's been validated in the literature. It's such a strange concept, but it just seems to work. And we're really looking at doing bilateral stimulation. So,
Right.
which means two-sided stimulation. So if the eyes bother somebody, we can do sound back and forth, or
Oh.
we can do tapping back and forth, or some people will use these
Mhm.
vibrating pads where it'll zap this hand and this hand
Oh,
back and forth.
nice. Nice. You
Yeah.
get that kind of kinetic feel back
Yes.
and forth. That's That's
Yes.
super interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And there's arguments to
yeah.
say that walking and part of the reason we like to rock is because our bodies need that soothing through that back and forth experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so much. That's just so interesting. There's a lot to digest there. So,
Yeah. It's a
so
lot.
yeah.
I might information dump, but I just get so excited
No,
about
and
it.
it's very cool. It's very cool. And so my mind's like just, racing and trying to make these other connections. So yeah, I just think that's a really fascinating concept, in
Yeah.
general, really. Um, Looking at this next question and also like considering, your own story, you have this phrase on your website, you have stop chasing, start choosing,
Yeah.
and based off of, what I heard in your stories, yeah, you had a lot of these really embedded preconceived notions that put you in this place where you couldn't
Mhm.
ask for what you wanted. And I guess like I'm curious to know, and maybe this is getting a little out of focus, but like when we say stop chasing, start choosing, what kind of things are we chasing in those moments, or are they things that we're running from or hiding from? I guess I'm interested. What does that phrase
Yeah.
mean in the context of your therapies?
Yeah. First of all, it's a little catchy, right?
Of
We'll go
course.
with that,
Of course.
obviously.
Yeah, we love it. We love catchy.
But it really goes back to what you were referring to, too, that I think women are so indoctrinated to fix themselves so they can finally attract Prince Charming and be rescued,
Right.
that this ends up becoming a form of chasing something that you don't feel worthy of. You're like, okay, how do I morph myself? How do I edit and dim and change myself in order to be palatable and pleasing to these men? Um, and then you end up in a relationship with someone who doesn't even love you for you because you were never being you.
Right.
Um, and that person also is seeking somebody who's going to be a pleaser and not actually, they're going to be kind of a taker in that relationship because they're looking
Yeah,
for somebody who's overgiving.
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, in the end, it's stop this chasing energy of trying to win somebody over or win over even convincing a boss that you deserve a raise or attracting friendships and align things into your life. This is about saying, I'm going to sit back in who I am. I'm going to fully embody who I am. And frankly, my feminine goddess energy, but this could be for any person, any gender as well. I'm going to
Right.
embody who I really am. Peel back all the defense mechanisms that I have loaded up here because those actually are repelling people.
Hmm.
I'm going to repel people by being the wrong people by being who I really am. Those
Yeah.
people are going to be put off by that, but I'm going to magnetize the people who really matter. And ultimately, I really, really, really want, especially the women I'm working with, but anybody I'm working with, to come from a place of these are my standards. Essentially, you have to be this tall to ride this ride, right?
Yeah,
Like you have to be this emotionally available and capable and caring to be
totally.
with me or to be in my life, not even romantically
Right.
necessarily, but to be in my
Totally.
life. And
Yeah.
if you can't be here, that's okay. You're not for me. That's
Yeah.
okay. Or we're not super close. I don't put that kind of trust in you. So I
Totally.
choose who comes into my realm. I'm not just begging and grasping for people to be with me.
Totally. Totally. That makes a ton of sense. And I guess, a question maybe to help like clarify some of your services too, because I know you do a lot of work with like people in relationship, like
Mhm.
maybe romantic relationships, but like to your point, your services could be sought by anyone having any sort of relationship
Yes.
problem, like not romantic relationship, even just like a
Yes.
friendship or a family
Yes.
dynamic or something like that.
100%. I work with everyone on every relationship level, even employment. All of it is about really stepping back and going, what do I actually want? Because I've been so guided by society and family and all of those things. So let's stop first and figure out who am I really? What do I want? What's aligned for me? And now, how do I actually let people know? I always talk about let's invite people to join you where you're at. Call people in, don't call them out. Bring them in, set your boundaries by calling them in and saying, hey, this is actually the direction I need to go in. And I know that we've interacted this way for so many years. I'm not comfortable with it anymore. It doesn't work for me anymore. And this is what I'd like instead. Are you up for this? Are you willing to try this with me?
Yeah.
And if they are, great. And if they aren't, okay, that's the
Yeah.
information I needed, and I'm going to move on with my life in another direction. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that you specialize in working with women and you help
Mhm.
them in areas like self-worth, relationships, career alignment, and parenting. And when you begin working with a client, like how do you decide where to focus first?
Oh, good question. And I do just want to step in and clarify, I do work with all genders. I
Absolutely.
just get really excited about the feminist perspective and all that good
Well,
stuff.
I can see that too, because like
Yeah,
with your story, it's very
yeah,
relevant to what you've experienced and how you've healed.
yeah,
So I get that.
yeah. And allowing women to just be their full selves. It's something, it's
Yeah.
not a topic as relevant to men. Specifically, we're talking cisgender individuals.
Yeah.
So that's just a really fun thing. But I definitely
Yeah.
help men with toxic relationships all the time too. But yes, how do we know where to begin?
Yes.
Um, it's so cool. This is another example of how just trusting the process is so helpful. I have learned that when I ask a client, what are the topics that have most been the most triggering for you in the past couple of weeks to a month?
Yeah.
It is always aligned with what they're ready to process. And I really do think of us going through this process like onion layers. There's usually an attachment trauma at the core of all of this,
Mhm.
but we aren't ready to get to it. That's a really scary place to go.
Yeah.
And we need to get through these other layers of the onion before we can get there. And so they'll tell me, "Oh man, my boss got mad at me, and when I tried to explain to them what was going on, they wouldn't listen to me. And then my partner was like not hearing me that I needed them to make an appointment with a doctor."
Yeah.
And when we go through the through line, it's, "Oh, I'm not being heard. When I say something, I'm not being understood and I'm not being heard." Okay, cool. And EMDR has a really cool strategy called a float back technique where you then have the person come up with the most triggering memory recently,
Mhm.
and you ask them to really get into their body about it, like get back into the memory and decide, name what emotions they're feeling when they think about it and what body sensations they're feeling. And then close their eyes and kind of float over the timeline of their life. And if they can stay in touch with those sensations, other memories that are connected in the same way will actually just pop into their mind, and they tell me them, I document them, and then we go through those and decide which one to work on.
Okay, very interesting. God, that makes me think of like your computer analogy,
Yeah.
except like with a somatic component. You're just like,
Yes.
let me search for this feeling, and then
Yes.
yeah, and then you
Yes. And it's
browse the
like a
cache.
control
Yeah.
find moment. Like it's that, find that word in all the script. Exactly. Yep.
Nice.
And invariably it always works. It astounds me. And I get people will be like, "Oh my gosh, what if we don't find anything?" I'm like, "Don't worry, we will. We will."
Yeah.
Worst case, we start EMDR on the recent memory and it floats you back automatically into or originating memories. And in most cases, when you have trauma on one of these topics, you have a lot of related memories. So that's another really cool thing about EMDR is
Yeah.
we'll get like this series of like 5 to 20 memories related to this current issue.
Yeah.
We go into one of these memories and it starts to unravel all of the pain of all of the memories, which is super cool.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess I was also, wondering, you work with people, I mean, you work with people on a litany of things, but
Hmm.
I just want to kind of narrow in maybe on like the idea of like these toxic relationships, right?
Yeah.
Um, Talking about, a toxic relationship or even being in that situation can be incredibly difficult, and speaking up while in that situation can also feel like incredibly difficult. So
Yeah.
like, so I guess, this is a bit of a two-part question, which is
Okay.
for those who are maybe concerned to like to I don't know, to speak up, to like speak to you about what they're going through. What would you say to them to, maybe encourage them or help them along? And then kind of the second part to the question is, what do you do to help build a nice safe space for your clients?
Yeah. This is a really relevant issue that people come up against. First off, if someone's not ready to look at this, they're not ready to look at this. You'll have people tell their friends over and over again, you got to dump
Yeah.
that person, you got to go to therapy. And
Yeah.
they've got to hit some rock bottom for themselves or some crisis point.
Yeah.
But my job really is to remove shame from the equation. Um, and I think one of the best ways that I can do that is, even from my own experience, I ended up in positions that to this day, if I don't want to tell people some of the things I've done.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of them. I've worked through a lot of the shame, but no one would understand if I said this is something I've done. They'd be like, okay, gross or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so I can have a lot of compassion for how someone could end up in a position that they never meant to be in.
Totally.
And when I talk to clients about even their unhealthy choices, I can explain to them, this isn't your fault that you ended up here. This was 100% conditioning from your childhood. And this isn't to blame parents. This is society playing into it. It's parents bringing their own trauma in and not knowing how to heal it. So this isn't demonizing anybody.
Right.
But you brought this from your childhood. You brought this from negative experiences when you didn't have any power. And so this is how you learned how to cope with it. So that takes a lot of the stigma off of it.
Yeah.
But I do hold my clients responsible for, now you do have power. Now you do know better. When we know better, we do better.
Right.
And we're going to find a new way to do this. So we'll process the subconscious stuff, but we're also going to learn new skills for neuro reprogramming so that you don't default to these old patterns anymore. Does that help answer that question?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely really helpful. Yeah, and just it, I guess I'm snagging on something you mentioned where it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're not trying to like demonize,
Yeah.
a lot of people and stuff, because like I think it's maybe more like adding context, to help
Yes.
understanding. Because like I understand it might be easy to be like, well, it's their fault that they, treated me like this, but blame doesn't help you grow in the
Mhm.
same way as understanding. So
And it actually helps because a lot of times what we take away from those upsetting experiences is this person didn't actually love me.
mm,
And when we understand that it had nothing to do with how much they cared about you, it was just their capacity was so limited because of their own pain,
right,
that actually feels better to understand that too.
totally.
So, yeah. Another thing I do that is somewhat frowned upon in some circles, I think plenty of circles in counseling, is they talk about don't use self-disclosure unless you're very, very, very strategic about it. So
Yeah,
telling people my story in any way.
yeah,
And I gotta say, I am I'm not into that strategy. Um, just like Brene Brown says, vulnerability begets vulnerability.
yeah,
I can't be this perfect person on a pedestal saying,
yeah,
I know better and I've never been where you are.
yeah,
But I know you can get here. Now, I do understand in the context of therapy, I'm not supposed to tell you my story for my benefit to make myself feel good. It's
mhm,
only in the context where it will help the client. And I've had a few times where I've told clients, yeah, I know what this feels like, and here's why. And I mean, that's the moment that we have a breakthrough where someone goes, oh, I really believe I can feel better. And
yeah.
thank you for sharing with me. I trust you in a whole new way now, you know?
Absolutely. I can see that as building more trust and like really
Mhm.
relating on a deeper level with that
Yeah.
vulnerability. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you can build something strong and like get to a
Yes.
breakthrough through that.
Yes.
And like from a client perspective, like you're not so alone. Like
Yeah.
I can understand how shame can make you feel like a miserable monster and that you're
Yeah.
the absolute worst, but you're not. You're
No,
not.
no, you're very human and we've all been there.
Yeah. So, what is your approach to helping clients align their goals with who they are and what they want? And do you have a story that you can share of a client who made a dramatic shift?
Yes, absolutely. So one of my favorite things to do with clients is do an end of life exercise. And this is just, pretend from this moment till 99 years old, you have
Hmm.
access to all of the resources. This is like that. If you were a billionaire question, what would you do with
Sure.
your time, right?
Yeah.
And we just go a little bit deeper with that. We go into like, you're at your funeral watching people grieve you. Who's there? what are they saying about you? What did you do with your life? Like, what were the sparkly moments of your life that made it all worthwhile? And this really helps people hone in on like who matters
Yeah.
and what activities matter, because you'll find out, oh, I rescued a lot of animals, or I traveled a lot, or okay, where can we go with that? Like,
Right.
let's start being creative about it. And a lot of our work together is let's just stop keeping so many doors closed. Like, start letting yourself consider other options. And when we do that, when we let ourselves be creative,
Yeah.
really cool solutions start presenting themselves, and you get these pings of great ideas.
Yeah.
Um, and a really cool story I have for a client. Oh, it just makes me so happy. Oh, I feel emotional.
Yeah.
Um, I was working with a young man who was just starting college, and he was an elite athlete, on track to becoming probably an Olympic athlete, possibly a professional athlete, but really feeling like not himself. Like, it's like he was put on a train by the family and he couldn't get
Yeah.
off that track. You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't his track.
Totally.
And so I allowed him the space to question this. Is this what you want? And he had such limited experience with friends and all the things that, who am I? You know, what do I want?
Yeah.
So, which was a great time to do this, to figure out, oh, I'm in college. I can explore friends, you know,
Yeah.
career options, all these topics.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he did discontinue the sport that he was in, and
Mhm.
um, graduated. So I worked with this client for several years, went with them through college, and
Nice.
then got engaged in a professional degree program that they're in now,
Wow.
and totally unrelated, but like
Yeah.
so much more aligned for this person. And I just couldn't be more proud of them. And, you know, just so many big steps in their lives that they've made as a result.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. And I think that, that really I feel like is another core thread of like our conversation is people feeling like they're confined, like they're on a train track, and like this is where you're going and this is the only way,
Yep.
but it's not a train, it's some other
No.
vehicle. It's a
Yep.
car.
You're not trapped, and you can
Yeah.
reverse and you can go a different direction. This isn't the only path, and you are not stuck here. Yeah.
So
Okay.
when someone is, feeling like they're on that train, they're on
Hmm.
their singular direction vehicle, and it's not good for them anymore, and they say, I'm ready to change, but I'm scared of what comes next. What is
Yeah.
your invitation to them?
Yeah. So, first of all, I really start with a lot of validation. Yeah, change sucks. It is,
Mhm.
I mean, our brains are energy efficiency machines. Like, they want us to stay on the same pattern, the same habits, the same way of thinking forever, because that saves us energy, right?
Yep.
So we got to talk about how hard that is and validate it, and that we're going to do things. I love this whole idea of, if we want to change something in our lives, we think it has to be from here to here, and we have to make this transition, make this huge jump.
Yeah.
And the most obvious way is we think about like dieting or getting in shape, right? I'm going to
Right.
go from no activity to I'm going to the gym 10
Every
times
day.
a week and
Yeah.
2 hours, and I'm never eating anything with sugar in it again. And it's like, okay, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Totally.
But if you were to say, I'm going to get out in the sun for 10 minutes every day this whole week and just do a gentle walk, and I'm going to add little layers in over and over and over again, you will get to your goals. So I break it down in that sense for people. We are not doing this. We're doing the journey of 100 miles. It starts with one step
Yeah.
and the next
Absolutely.
step. Another thing, a little scare tactic I use is, close your eyes. And not you, but the client.
I can.
But imagine this thing that's hurting you right now. If you don't do anything, what does your life look like in 10 years, in 20 years? Is it worth it? Like, can you imagine missing out on your whole life because you can't imagine changing this thing that hurts so badly? And that really wakes people up sometimes. But I think that the most powerful thing I can do is, like I said before, I have so much faith in this process. I know people can have what they want. I literally know it in my soul.
Yeah.
And so I hold so much hope for people.
Mhm.
And then I can read people really well. I know patterns really well because of my experience now.
Yeah.
So when I can read their experience and almost speak it better than they can, honestly,
Yeah.
and the tears
Yeah.
start happening, they're like, oh my God, somebody finally understands me.
Yeah.
They start to build trust in the fact that I really do know what I'm talking about, that
Yeah.
you are here, but you can get here. I promise you. Like,
Yeah.
let's just take each step together.
Absolutely. That's great. That is really awesome. So, I guess looking ahead, what's the next chapter for you? What new work, offering, or vision are you most excited about bringing into the world?
Yeah. So I think there are like three things, but it's all about building more community, getting myself out there more, and just
Yeah.
being with people more. And which is a big pain point for me, was feeling seen, felt scary
Yeah.
for quite a long time, and I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I know that this is airing after the event, but I'm doing a workshop with Dr. Michael Brasher, a dear friend and wonderful colleague.
He's
And I think you
awesome.
know him, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know Michael Brasher. He's awesome. Yeah, he's
He's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we're running a workshop for men and women to help heal through the gender stereotypes that we're expecting of each other and the
Yeah.
pain points that people have experienced.
Totally.
And I'm hoping that we actually will repeat it, maybe, quarterly or twice a year or something, so people can
Yeah.
stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Um, I would like to do a book club as well, to work
Nice.
through just whatever the topic is at the time.
Yeah.
And then I'm also starting my own podcast with your help, sir,
That's
and I'm
right.
very grateful for
Of
that. So
course.
I'm going to be doing a podcast on, it's a feminist approach to like creating healthy relationships.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's not just for women. It is just a
Oh,
feminist approach because feminism
absolutely.
helps everybody.
It does.
And we'll be exploring like strategizing or strategies for optimizing like mental health in ways that are very, very usable. That's one of the things I love doing with my clients is, it's like, okay, let's learn emotional regulation. What the hell does that mean, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
I break it down into something called the emotional regulation 5, the ER 5. Here are the steps. Walk through the steps, and I'm pretty certain by the time you're done with those steps, you're going to feel better. And if you start doing that on a regular basis, that will be your new default instead of this get high, get angry, whatever the strategy is you're currently using. So we'll be going over those in this podcast as well.
Nice. Awesome. Very excited to work on it. Very excited
Thank
to
you.
hear it when it comes out in the world. So awesome.
Thank you.
And that's also super, it's super cool. I didn't know that you were working with Michael Brasher, but a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that you were talking about earlier, like it was making me think of him too,
Yeah, you're
just
like, you should talk to Michael
it
Brasher.
was like absolutely. I feel like there's a lot you guys could talk about.
Yep,
So that's
totally.
that's awesome. Very cool. I have to get him I have to get him in here. Got to get him in here.
Yes,
Oh
good
man.
idea because he's great. Oh man, he's great on these topics.
Yeah, he's rad. But
Hmm.
but this isn't about him. This is about
Fair.
you,
Yeah.
Tatiana.
All right.
And so, for those who want to learn more about you and hear more of your insights, where can they go?
Perfect. They can go to my website, which is, I'm sure, going to be linked in the show notes, I'm
A-
assuming, right?
Absolutely, right in the
Okay,
show
yeah.
notes.
Yeah, TatianaThompson.com. They can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. What is LinkedIn? It's almost always under Tatiana Life Coach as my
Yeah,
handle. And yeah, I think those are the best places, and then reach out from there if they're interested.
perfect. And folks, you know where to go. They're in the episode notes. So go and check them out and get in touch with Tatiana. Tatiana, thank you so much for speaking with me today
Yeah.
about your experience, about the services you provide, about how you help people change and better their relationship with themselves, it sounds like.
It
Um,
is. That's the core. Thank you for catching that. Yep.
of course. And I, at this point in the show, we are wrapping up. And so I have to ask you the question I ask everyone who walks through these proverbial doors. It's the hardest question on the show. What is one thing out of the many that you love about Tucson?
Yeah, that's the hard part is the one, right?
The one.
My gut reaction to that is the amazing food culture because we're a UNESCO World Heritage Site and dang, we got some good food.
We eat good.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
do. We do. Yep.
I'd have to agree with you. Well, thank you again, Tatiana, for coming on the show. Thank you so much. Folks, please check out the episode notes and get in touch. And
Thank you so much, Connor.
of course, and take care.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
It's been awesome having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And that's a wrap for another episode of T Lokes, your go-to podcast for uncovering the untold stories of Tucson's local businesses and nonprofits. I want to give a huge thank you to Tatiana Thompson from Resourced Counseling for coming on the show today and sharing with us about how her powerful journey allowed her to share the healing that she found with others. So, folks, go ahead and check out Resourced Counseling. Talk to Tatiana. She's awesome. She has a lot to offer you. And keep an ear out for her podcast, which is coming out sometime in the near future. Follow her socials in the episode notes, and you won't miss when that episode drops. Thanks a ton, y'all, and go check out those links. A big thank you to Louis Sanders from Soundmonk Studios for composing the awesome T Lokes theme music. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with Tucson's vibrant business scene, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback is invaluable, and it helps us continue bringing you engaging conversations. As we wrap up, remember that T Lokes isn't just a podcast, it's a community. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or our Discord channel and share your thoughts, suggestions, or even recommend a local business or nonprofit you'd like to see featured on the show. Thank you once again for being a part of the T Lokes community. Until next time, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep supporting the heartbeat of Tucson. Toodaloo.